When you are dating to change someone, you are dating for you. Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. Today we're talking about the 7 mistakes that most queer people make when dating and the beginning of their relationships, and maybe a little bit about how to stop it. Some of these will fit into tropes that we are aware of about the queer community. That doesn't mean that they are not things that also, actually happen. So let's get into it. The first one that I want to talk about with you is falling for someone who is straight. Can you always help this? No. I think it's important that we identify specifically out in the open why this usually happens. Typically it happens because the person who has fallen for the straight person is not in a zone to deal with their own queerness. And because of that, falling for a straight person is a pretty good way to ensure that you still won't have to deal with it, because that relationship is probably not going to work out. Also, there's an idea out there very prevalent in society that if you can turn a straight person queer, that somehow gives you this status. Stop that. When a straight person goes to a queer person and says,
"You're only gay or bi or pan because you haven't been with the right person yet,"
or
"I bet I could turn you straight,"
somehow we think it's okay within the queer community to use that back at them. Be like, well, I could turn your girlfriend gay, or I could turn your boyfriend gay. Just stop acting like people don't have agency over their own beings, because they do, and they deserve to. And the things that our community is working towards are hindered by this assumption that people have that there's something noble or to be strived for about turning a straight person queer. Number 2, falling for someone who's taken. And I'm just going to say, I hate the term taken because it implies that they are not of their own accord in the relationship. But falling for someone who's in a committed relationship with someone else, falling for someone who's in a committed monogamous relationship with someone else. So basically someone who's not available emotionally to be in a relationship with you, and you fall for them. That also largely happens when someone is trying to protect themselves. It happens when you're also not available and you seek out those people who are not available to you, because it will always end badly. And we do that to fit our own lens of things always end badly. Number 3, oversharing. This one is huge to be conscious of. In the dating world, oversharing is so much easier to do in a queer relationship. And for a lot of people, it happens more often in queer relationships. That's why it's a trope. But it happens because you're finally interacting with someone who has shared experiences with you and who moves about the world similarly to you and has that same outsider, insider, who am I safe with understanding. And you finally find that safety with someone who you know you're going to be safe with and is safe with you. And that leads to the desire to be close as soon as possible. And so you share about everything. You feel so close together, but it's like summer camp syndrome, where you are gone for a week and you think these people are your best friends forever and ever. And you may have shared some super deep information with them, and they may be the only people that you've told. They're the only people that you've told because they're outside of your normal life, and you won't have to pay the consequences of having them know that information about you later. That's why that happens in summer camp. It happens in queer relationships when you're seeking that connection and you have those shared experiences and you're assuming you have those building blocks to build on, and then you release your information, share your truth, and then bare your soul to this person without the longevity of understanding of each other, without knowing if they are inherently a trustworthy person, without them knowing if you are inherently a trustworthy person. And it builds all of these assumptions about one another that the relationship, if there is a relationship after that, cannot withstand. And if there's not a relationship after that, you feel like crap for having shared that much of yourself and getting no return on investment, aka interaction after the fact with that person. And that kind of leaves you feeling crappy, like you shared about yourself and then they dipped. Who wants to feel that way? You don't have to feel that way in the beginning of a relationship. If you remember, there's an appropriate amount, a comfortable amount, a slower pace to go when you don't have to get all that information in like the first couple of dates. Similar to that is number 4, and that is getting too serious too fast. Call it U-hauling, call it the overshare issue, call it whatever you want to call it. But this idea that the relationship is on fast forward is very steeped in queer culture. Everything moves faster. You get to stages and milestones faster in queer relationships than you do in non-queer relationships. And a lot of that is because you grow up with those expectations and those mile markers and stuff. Society as a whole has those expectations of what's an appropriate pace and what is not an appropriate pace for a non-queer relationship. And because we're outside of the box and outside of the lines and outside of all the rules and everything else, we forget that there are developmentally milestones that people need to go through together before you know if the relationship has the energy to withstand time and drama and the things that happen in everybody's life that you expect a relationship to withstand. If you meet somebody and have this epic 6-hour first date and then a 5-hour second date, and at month 2 or 3, you're talking about moving in together, you have sidestepped that longevity piece that lets you know whether or not this person is a well-suited partner for your life. And in the midst of losing your job or finding a home and that kind of other drama and traumatic issues that can happen in life, that is not where you need to find out if someone has the ability to stand with you during those times. You find that out through longevity. You find that out through how they deal with things in their life, how they deal with things that come up in your life, and seeing who this person is longer term. That's when you know if they are that reliable person. Not when you're ready to advance the relationship so quickly because you have so much in common. Of course you have stuff in common. Of course you do. That's why you're attracted to this person. We're all attracted to people we have stuff in common with. That's how the world works. That does not mean the relationship has to go fast forward through all of those milestones. Number 5, settling because of access. This one's huge. There are places, so many places in our country, in the world as a whole, that do not allow people access to other queer people. And because of that, we end up in relationships with people that maybe if we had more access to more people, we would not necessarily choose to be our partner. But we go into these things with like the understanding that the big boxes that need to be checked are shared experiences like being queer and, I don't know, being open-minded about things. If you grow up in a town that is highly traditional, I hate that term. If you grow up in a highly conservative town and you don't have many out and open queer people around you, the people you do have access to likely bear some of the same scars that you do. Maybe the things that people have said to them, maybe the attitudes of teachers at school, maybe the way their parents encourage them to leave the door open, not make determinations for who you are, not label things, or flat out didn't accept them. When you are with someone with the same scars as you, and neither of you or both of you are doing the healing for those scars, being the partner of someone who is healing those kind of deep wounds is also a job in and of itself. Let alone if you are trying to heal those deep wounds for yourself, it is very likely that you will see that as sort of like a benefit when in reality it can actually be a detriment. When we date someone who has similar scars to ours, we will trigger each other's trauma also. And that settling just because of access does not help anyone in the situation and leaves you with more scars to be dealt with later. Number 6 is a doozy. Playing into cishet stereotypes. The assumption that there is a masculine and a feminine energy in any relationship is problematic. People's energy does not need to be polarized or put into a binary. People's energy is their energy. Finding someone whose energy complements yours is exactly what you should be doing in dating. Finding someone whose energy complements yours in the masculine feminine paradigm, all this does is spread the assumption that that is the right way, which also leads to those stereotypes for people, which then leads to a lot of these divisions we see in the queer community that I literally just talked about last week. Assuming that the one of you that is more girly or the one of you that is more manly will be the one to fulfill those gendered roles in the relationship sets the two of you up to fail. This is so problematic because it goes so deep and it makes people overthink things in ways that then becomes problematic for them. The person who asks out has to pay. The person who picked the other one up determines where they're going. They're also the ones who initiate, I don't know, the first move, if anything beyond hanging out, is going to happen. These are stereotypes that need to go. If you want to make a move and you feel like you have consent from the person, make a move. If they don't consent, stop the move. If you want to pay, it doesn't matter who asked who out. If someone asks you out and you know that that is something that's typically problematic for you, like who pays, what do we do? Ask that up front. Enter into those conversations. Have the tough conversations from the beginning. Sets up, if this becomes a relationship, the expectation that you will come to one another when things get hard. The stereotypes that come from cishet dating cycles are not automatically correct just because it's what you see everywhere. What is correct is what's right for you. And that might not be what's right for the person you're trying to date, in which case that's a mismatch, so that's something to deal with. But you will find as you're dating that there are expectations that you have that are linked to that cishet understanding of gender and responsibility and roles and how that all works. You don't need to do that. And the last one is not just a queer issue, but we're going to talk about it under our umbrella. Dating to change or save someone or to feel better about yourself. When you are dating to change someone, you are dating for you. When you're dating to save someone, you are dating in order to feel better about you. When you're dating to feel better about yourself, because then you are dateable and you're someone that someone wants, you are using someone for your own end. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I am a therapist, but I'm not your therapist. So I will suggest that if you find yourself in that situation, find yourself in those roles regularly, that therapy might be a good answer. Diving into why you need to save or change someone, or be the one in control, or feel better about yourself through the use of someone else. Dating can absolutely make you feel better about yourself. Knowing that you're desired by someone can make you feel better about yourself, and that's a very natural thing. But dating because that's the only way you feel good about yourself, or you feel valued, or you feel wanted, that's a problematic thing. This is not just in the queer community, but it would be absolutely inappropriate for me to do this video and not mention these things. This way of dating is using other people. Stop doing it. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.